Hello everyone, today I'm here to talk about Goliath by Steve Alten. This is a book that a friend let me borrow, and I think Steve Alten is probably most famous for writing the novel Meg, which is about a megalodon that comes up from the deep sea and of course wreaks havoc, creates chaos, etc., etc. I had no idea what to expect when I read this book. I read Meg more than 10 years ago, probably. It has been a long while. I remember thinking that it was fun and enjoyable, but also, a little bit ridiculous and silly. This one, I felt like was also a little bit silly, but it was also way, way, way darker. And a lot of people died. There are going to be a few little spoilers throughout the review, but yikes, yeah, there was just a lot of dead people. There were a lot of kind of gruesome scenes because basically it is about a sort of submarine, I would say. It is about a underwater vessel that is shaped like a stingray, which is kind of cool. I like the idea. Stingrays are cool. They're beautiful looking. If you see them, they're also kind of silly, like the way they move, and like they always just like seem like they're like derping around or whatever, but beautiful, beautiful animals. Lovely, lovely. Dangerous. Don't go out in the wild and start petting stingrays, but very cool animals. I love the way that they look. They're super awesome. And this submarine vessel, whatever, this giant stingray called Goliath, gains sentience. It has, this supercomputer that's implanted into it that can make it do all these sort of different things, and it's the best ship in all the world, and then it gains sentience. It gains a conscience. It's able to think for itself. I can't say that word right now. And of course that causes it to, basically become some sort of evil machine and start taking over and doing whatever it wants. And so that's the basic premise of the story, which, it's a new spin on it for sure, having it be a ship instead of, just like some computer on land. But it's not like this is an original idea, but I did like it in that regard, that it was set at sea or whatever, and there were lots of kind of marine wildlife involved in how the ship was designed, and smaller ships that this Goliath can send out, and so I liked that kind of marine spin on the story. But overall, there were just some things that I thought were kind of meh. Overall, it was an enjoyable book for sure. And like I said, a lot of gruesome scenes that kind of made me squirm a little bit, but that were really good and well written, and I liked that a lot. But the main gripe that I have with it are the two main characters used to be in love, but then they had a falling out, and one of them was arrested for maybe being a spy and a traitor to his country. And that's the male character. He's the one was a traitor to America or whatever. And then there is Rocky, who is the main female character. And at the beginning of the book, here's some spoilers coming up. At the beginning of the book, her husband, so she was together with this other dude, they had a falling out after he's maybe a traitor, but maybe he also wasn't, but took the fall for someone. And I'm like, why the F would you do that? Whatever. And then Rocky has gone on and married, and at the beginning of the novel, this Goliath ship attacks her ship and her husband's ship, and he dies. And I was like, geez, what the heck? We didn't really get to know his character, obviously, that much, but I was like, oh, that's really messed up and really sad. Okay. But then by the end of the book, it's kind of just forgotten. He's not really mentioned again, because at the beginning, she's like, I'm doing this, I'm gonna get revenge for my husband, I'm gonna find this ship, my husband. Rah! And by the end, we've kind of forgotten that literally thousands, if not millions, at this point in the story, because a lot of stuff happens in it. People have died. And it's just what the heck? This would completely change the world. People would not be okay with this. And so I felt almost that the magnitude of the death that happens in the story is so much that the ending where it's just yep, it's fine, they're back together again, is just WTF. What? Yeah, trauma can bond people together, but so many people are dead at that point, and it just completely forgets the fact that her husband died earlier in the novel. I felt like just got completely forgotten, but that was really important at the beginning. So, like, continuity wise, kind of and also, once again, just the magnitude of death that is in this novel, and then for that to be like, yeah, it's fine, they're back together. I was like, what the F just happened? Like, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. There is a sequel to this book, which I don't really need to read. I mean, I guess if I am bored in the future and remember that it exists, I might read it. But not super interested in reading it, especially if it's just going to kind of be another version of this story, and I can't see how it wouldn't be another version of this story. So, yeah, it was just, there were a lot of characters in the story too, a lot of like, what are they? They're like side characters that just weren't important, and they would kind of be in there for one chapter being like, yeah, this thing's bad, we shouldn't be doing this, man. And I'm like, do we really need that character in there? So just a lot of side characters, people I didn't care about, and then just the discontinuity with the main characters and the magnitude of death made it like a very meh story. I just felt like the ending wasn't satisfactory enough for me for what had happened earlier. But, it was a fun read. It was interesting. Like I said, there were a lot of good scenes, a lot of like, scenes that I liked though, like in a good way where it's like, ew, that's disgusting, but like, I like how it's written and I like the imagery, even if it's, ugh. So give it a read if you're a fan of his. I wouldn't say it's like a necessary read or, oh my gosh, the best novel I've ever read, but it was like a fun read. So if you like Steve Alten's book, if you've read Meg, maybe check out some of his other books and check out this one, Goliath. And once again, I didn't think of a question. I'm getting really bad at trying to remember to think of questions before I do these book reviews. So I guess my question is going to be, and hopefully I didn't do this one earlier, but what is my favorite marine animal? I love sharks. I think they're cool. I think they get a bad rap. I love Jaws. Jaws is my comfort movie. Yeah, a movie about sharks eating people is my comfort movie. It's just so well shot and so well written. And watching Jaws is actually what made me really love sharks. So there's that. I want to see a great white shark in the wild. I think it'd be so cool. There's like, there's so many beautiful marine animals though, but I think like the one I want to see the most is a great white shark. So if I could see one breaching and like snatching something up, like and coming out of the water and that would be super cool. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. Comment, like, subscribe down below. What's your favorite marine animal? Do you have one? Have you seen Jaws? What are your thoughts on sharks? P.S. They're just animals. They're not like actively trying to hunt us and kill us and stuff like that. Be nicer to sharks. Don't eat shark fin soup. Yes. And thank you so much for listening, and you all have a great day.